Everything inspires me, and I get something from everything. Nice. Yeah. Nowadays, that's better. Yeah. I do not have anything to say. I mean, you saw it. But if you have any questions, then I can answer. I can talk around your questions. Yeah, I think that's best. Okay, I will start there on the side. Yes.
I have two questions. If that's okay.
Start just one. I can deal only in one.
I was wondering if the pace of your films were an intuitive decision, or if
the pace. It's my nervous system. That's how I am. It's my temperament. That's how I see things. That's how I am. And that's how I record them, and and that's it. Either you take it or leave it. Yes. Now.
I noticed that you edited the films in the 90s, but they were shot anywhere from the 50s.
Yes, true.
What 80s? What did you finally have some time, or?
Not question of time. I always have time, but I don't feel like doing anything with my footage. I have a necessity to record, to film, then I look at it and I put it on the shelf. I never know what I'm going to do with it and when. But then time comes when somebody asks me, do we have some footage on Warhol? Do we have some footage on Fluxus or Yoko Ono? Or those are the occasions, like there are exhibitions, there are shows, and then I feel, yeah, why not? Of course I have footage, so why don't I collect it and put it together? I just usually, no editing there. It's just stringing pieces together. Editing, if any editing is there, it's during the filming. You know how I move, what the camera, or you know. But post-editing is usually just stringing it together. Yes, indeed.
It's sort of part B to this question. Can you speak at all about what it's like emotionally to look at footage of friends that aren't?
I do not, I'm totally incapable of analyzing myself.
Oh, okay. But that's
I look at mostly, with my camera, I look at the world, my friends around me, and I record. So it's always out, not what's, it's not self-analytical. So even when I look at this footage, of course I remember, you know, the moment when I remember every little bit, then, you know, where, and you know, the situation, but it's like my filming does not involve emotion. I don't think, you know, now you're asking a question, I'm beginning to think, you know. But it's not emotion, it's like usually it's automatic reaction to what's in front of me, what's happening there. And lately I'm saying to, explaining it like, I say it's like in Kung Fu. It's like I'm there, and suddenly something like confronts me, and I react automatically and with no thinking. And so there is a reason, but I do not understand the reason why that moment I reacted to it with my camera. Because, there are 24 hours, I live 24 hours every day. But I act like that during certain brief moments. So of course there is some very, very real reason. But I'm not interested to know it.
Were you keeping a journal for the second piece, or you just document everything
Journal,
on your camera?
This is my journal.
Right.
Well,
Well, you were reading like a narrative in the second work, and I'm just curious if you wrote journal entries every day.
For George Mekas, yes, I read my diary entries of that period. I did not know what else. Of course, I could have permitted just to run it silent, and you can run it silent, turn off the sound and so on. But I thought it, at the same time, it's like a document of that period of the last weeks, months of George's life. So I was not making like a work of art where you really, to balance the, I don't know what. It's simply materials put together about moments from the life of a friend, of a close friend who George was to me. So, and then it's a document, in a sense, it's a record, a document about a person. Does not have to be, you have to look at it as a work of art. Too much of these things, work of art, forget it. Yes, in the back.
Mr. Mekas, people are starting to think a lot more about this as we all have phones and cameras, but the idea that when you film something, it affects your experience of it personally. And if it lowers it or enhances it, you're obviously preserving it. But you've been dealing with this issue a lot longer than many of us. I wonder if you have any thoughts on it.
No, I have no thoughts. Because everything that you do, you walk, you eat, you talk, it's always, it's you and something else or somebody else. Everything affects every moment of your life. And the same with filming, or when I'm filming. It's just an activity. It's, I'm not there like by myself in the world. There is also something that I'm filming. And of course, it's, we see everything records, leaves some kind of record in us also, what we see, what we do. So it's very normal interaction. There is nothing just that from one side, it's always two. Like me who is recording it, and that what I'm recording. And I repeat, I cannot analyze it, and I don't think it's, I have to analyze it. And I'm not interested in it.
Can you tell us how you met Andy Warhol?
Andy Warhol. Yes, I will, I'm getting tired of sometimes of some questions and keep answering them. But it's okay. It's a very natural question. And I had a little loft on 414 Park Avenue South. which is 30th Street, somewhere there. And that's where the headquarters of Filmmakers Cooperative was. But it was my loft. And Film Culture magazine, a lot was happening there. And filmmakers used to come and show their work to each other. It was very, very active in 62, 63, 64, very active place. And that's where, I did not know, but that's where Andy used to come with, there are many others. And somebody brought him, one of his friends to my loft, and there he was watching films there for months, and sitting on the floor. There were no chairs. One day, one of the filmmakers, Naomi Levine, said, "Come to my birthday, you will meet some of your friends. Why don't you come?" Like friends like Andy Warhol. I said, "No, Andy Warhol, I don't know. He's not my friend. I don't know him." "You don't know Andy Warhol? He has been sitting in your loft there on the floor watching movies for months, and you don't know Andy Warhol?" I thought, no, there are all kinds of people come out. No. So I went to the birthday, and there he was. I recognized him, and that's how we met. And we became friends, and he was a good friend who always supported me in my, in real needs. He was one of those friends who is a friend when you really need one.
Question?
I have to ask you this because I work here.
The birds, everything inspires me, and I get something from everything. Everything. But when I actually to cinema, as far as cinema goes, it was not the films that pulled me into the cinema, like most of you, because I did not see films when I grew up, but there were books. And even later already, I mean, I saw my first film when I was 14, 15 maybe. And then I saw in between, when I got the first camera in New York in 1950, in between I saw a lot of horrible, bad propaganda, cinema, the Soviets, the Germans, wartime. I saw a lot of bad cinema. And after the war, United States Army brought what nobody wanted to see anymore, or nobody wanted to see here. They took it to Europe. There was a lot of bad. Until I came to New York, cinema practically did not exist for me. But I read it. I read about the possibilities of cinema in the books.
Is that what inspired?
And then I wanted to see what I was reading in those books, the classic. I wanted to see, but I couldn't until I came to New York, Museum of Modern Art, or Cinema 16, yes. Is
that what inspired you to preserve film? Because you did
preservation has nothing to do with inspiration. Huh? It has to do with desperation. When films that you love begin to fall, fade and fall to pieces, and you love them and you want to share them with others, and you think that in 2, 3 more years they won't be there. You cannot share them. You cannot see yourself them anymore. You have to do something to preserve them. it's desperation, it's a need, necessity. It began for me when we created Anthology Film Archives, which some of you know what it is. If you don't know, you should look into it. And we wanted to show the best possible prints of the films that we loved. So we went, where do we get, where is the source? Where are the originals from which we could make the best new, fresh prints? And when we began hunting, searching for originals, we discovered that very often the filmmakers themselves did not know anymore where the originals are. And when we discovered some, we found out that they're fading, disintegrating. Immediately we had to go into not only screening of films, but the preservation of films. And I have to tell you, that's a very expensive project. And even today, many films that should be preserved are not being preserved because it's an expensive process.
Does anyone else have a question?
No rush. We have all evening. And of course, Namjoon Pike used to laugh at me. When oh, you filmmakers, your films will fade. Fading, and let me have video. Sorry, Namjoon. Our films under controlled temperature and humidity can last up to 200 years. But video, much of the video art of the 60s, 70s, 80s, not only, it's like audio, is disintegrating, but also the formats keep changing, all the formats, the industries, the corporations, to make money, you have to change the formats. Yes.
Are you working on anything now? I know it's a big question.
I'm not really working on, I will tell you, I'm working on something, not on films or videos, because my films don't take time and don't take work. It just, it just happens as part of your life. I'm not working. My films don't necessitate any work. They just happen, they come into existence unnoticeably, practically. But I'm trying to build a library during times when the libraries are being closed. I'm building one because for the paper materials, documentation of which we have a lot at Anthology Film Archives. I'm trying to add one more floor on top of Anthology's building, and that will be the library. 12, and on the side, we'll have also cafe. And the cafe will save Anthology, because Anthology loses every year up to like $500,000, and it's work every day to make telephone calls, to write letters, to get that have $1 million from foundations, individuals, corporations, etc. But the cafe, I think, will balance. Because we know from Film Forum and Angelica, they lose on their programs. They lose on their program. They don't make money. But they balance with their cafes. Their cafes. I'm telling you the fact, not yet. So that's, we hope that our cafe will help also us to survive. But the library is to make them those materials, paper materials, documentation, not only to preserve them, but make them all available. Because if you, it's like in every other art, it's not that making art itself, but everything that is around them, around art, music, theater, literature, poetry, is also that atmosphere, all those other materials help us to not only to understand, but like to love it, to be with it, like so that it's part of us, so that the need to build this library is part of what cinema is, and it's essential part of it. 12 million. I have so far 4.5. 7 million more to go. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind if you know anybody, and take it seriously. Take it seriously. I'm not doing this for myself. I don't need it. I am doing it for cinema. If you are for cinema, be part of it. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. But yeah, I think
for $55, and Jonas will be signing, and thank you so much. You can go to anthologyfilmarchives.org and read.
Everything inspires me, and I get something from everything.